Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Messages of Hope. I have a guest who's joining us for the second time, Sandra Ingerman, a beautiful soul who is a beautiful teacher about shamanism. And like many teachers, her teaching is born of personal experience. So we're really going to dive into, in this episode, some somewhat recent experiences she's had that have challenged her more than anything in her life. We'll start at the beginning with her background, but I know that you will all be inspired by her story and learn a lot from her. Let me bring her on right now. Sandra, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Suzanne, and hi, everybody.
We were just talking off air that you're about to start teaching again in person for the first time since COVID, so that's
Yeah,
exciting.
I'm so excited. My whole destiny, I came in to teach all my astrology, all my tarot numbers, the teacher. And I've been teaching since I was born. And so, although I've been teaching online, which has been wonderful to be able to reach so many people, um, in shamanism, everything is about singing, dancing, doing ceremonies outside. And so I'm so excited to step back into my true work again.
That's wonderful. I feel we're kindred spirits in that regard. And I remember getting back with my first live class after the COVID, and the energy is so beautiful. So that I envy your students very much. So we wanted to make the focus of this episode here about the genesis of your most recent book. How many books do you have now? Quite a few.
That's number 13.
Yeah. Number 13. The book is Walking Through Darkness, a nature-based path to navigating suffering and loss. And this show, I generally aim to keep it uplifting and inspirational. And even with a title like that, I know it still will be, because you
Yes,
are anything if not inspirational. I
yes.
don't know if I said that right, but I think everybody gets the gist of it. So, what brought you to write a book about walking through darkness?
Yeah, so I I've been through initiations throughout my entire life, and when I talk about initiations in shamanism, initiations are seen when you're moving from one part of your life to another phase of your life. And first, your ego has to be stripped away so that your spirit can completely shine through and your soul can guide you to your true, authentic identity. And so, in the practice of shamanism, we all go through initiations in life. Because we go from childhood to teenager to adulthood and all the things that happen to us, but we're changed by these initiations. We're not the same people. We have different values.
May I
We
ask you,
Yeah,
are
sure.
they always challenging in a difficult way?
I don't think so.
Oh, good.
It depends on your destiny. No, not everybody goes through the difficult challenges like I've been going through, what Lynn's, my co-author, has been going through. I was called at a very young age to do shamanic work. In shamanic work, when you get those big initiations, like ooh, I don't want to go into shamanism if I'm going to experience this.
Oh, yeah.
These are for people who have really been called by the spirits. And in a shamanic culture, people go, why are all these Westerners trying to learn about shamanism? I mean, what you have to go through, the ego stripping, everything that you have to go through. And for some people who haven't been called in a particular way, we just slide through to the next phase of life, and we go, wow, that was a beautiful transition, a really beautiful transition. I've had a lot of those. And I had a lot of near-death experiences, which is,
You talk about that in your book, and you know, the most I've heard from anybody on my program or even friends from meeting them at conferences, it's 3 near death, but you have had a lot, and one of them in particular got my attention. You were struck by lightning, which is
right.
the way my stepdaughter was killed. So just share whatever whichever of those experiences you'd like to share, because clearly here you are having grown from them.
hmm Yeah, so I was hit by lightning when I was a child, and it was very rare. It actually came into our house
Hmm.
and struck me. And so I was really called to the work at that time. But I grew up in Brooklyn in a traditional neighborhood, so who stepped up and said, "Oh my goodness, this child just got called, had an initiation. We have to give her the teachings of how to step into her power and what lightning wants from her." That's what would happen in a shamanic culture.
Yeah.
And so
Hmm.
I, I guess for me, we're all compassionate on the spiritual path. I know you're incredibly compassionate and a beloved teacher and woman for this, and I am too. And so I just, I don't know if it was the lightning. I don't know if it was just who I was, but I just, people stop me on the street as a kid all the time to tell me their problems.
Wow.
And I worked in my father's store from a very young age, and people used to come in and tell them that they only came in to see me, to
Wow.
speak to me. I actually had a nun who came in every Wednesday night, and she'd say, "You're such a special child. Um, I just come in to speak to you and buy something so that I can talk to you." Um, but what that did for me, I wasn't realizing at the time, was I was taking on everybody's pain. I wasn't, I was so young. I mean, who talks about things like this? And I
Not in
lived in,
Brooklyn anyway.
yeah, and I lived in an immigrant neighborhood, and a lot of people committed suicide. They came from, they were running for their lives from different parts of Russia, the Ukraine, Italy. There was a lot of pain and suffering that I was surrounded with. And so I became very suicidal. And I think, and I understood why. When I was about 13, I said, "Why am I so suicidal? My life's okay." And I said, "I'm taking on everybody's pain. That's what's going on."
You figured that out. Amazing.
Yeah, I figured
That's
that
the
out.
soul getting through to you, huh?
Yeah, I know. Stop doing that. And so anyway, I think that the rest of my near-death experiences were trying to wake me up to life again. And they were all beautiful. My most beautiful one was drowning in Mazatlan at about the age of 19, and I had the full going down the tunnel and coming out into this glorious garden with, I sat on this stone bench. The plants and the music was so unearthly, and the unconditional love flooding every single solitary cell of my body. Um,
May
and
I ask you a question about that?
yeah.
I know that many people fear that we and our loved ones who go through a death like that
mhm.
have so much fear and pain at the moment of passing. Can you tell us, were you aware of being frightened to death as you realize I'm going to drown?
No,
See?
I
See?
Yeah, and I'll speak more to that because I have a
Please.
lot of experience with this
Okay.
because I was a counselor for near-death experience.
Because every soul I've talked to in a mediumship reading tells me they were launched out of the body. The soul came out of the body at the time, the people who burned in a car or doing horrific accidents, and they say that they did not experience pain. It was like a dissociation. So I'd love to hear anything you could add to that conversation.
Yeah, well, for me, I got caught in a reptide, and the last thing I remember, I was with some friends. We had a business where we brought clothes back to the US and sold it. And I had a friend with me who was 300 pounds, and so his name was Tubby. And the very last thing Tubby, I heard, the very last words I heard as I was going down was Tubby saying, "Whatever happens, Sandy, don't panic. Whatever happens, Sandy, don't panic." So I'm being tumbled, and I'm realizing I can't breathe. And I just hear Tubby saying, "Sandy, what happens? Don't panic." And I just start breathing. I just start breathing because what did we do in our mother's womb? We were in water. We just breathed. So I just breathed like I would in my mother's womb. It was just a natural, so calming. I was so held. So, due to my near death experiences, I became a counselor for Ken Ring's uh, International Society for Near Death Experiences. And it was a volunteer position. I worked at San Francisco State and I met Ken Ring through some of my work there. And so I met with so many near death survivors. I only met one person who said he had terrible fear when he drowned, but I never met, out of all the hundreds of people who I worked with, what the biggest trauma for people who have near death experiences is. They come back changed. It's an initiation. They
Mm.
come back changed. And so I had a woman client who was actually put in a mental institution after she had a near death experience giving birth. She was an angry woman. She was always screaming before, and she came back a being of unconditional love
Oh,
from her experience. And they
no
said,
wonder. Yeah.
you're crazy." So they put her in an institution because she was too loving. I mean,
Wow.
I
Let's hope
mean,
that doesn't
my,
continue to this day but I wouldn't be surprised. That's what we're all about.
yeah, so
No, that's not crazy.
yeah, so these initiations change us, but they show us, they take people into the deepest places of unconditional, non-personal love. And so, of course, you're going to come back changed when you have an experience like that. All of a sudden, you understand that you're immortal, you're never going to die, and that you're going to the most beautiful place of love, and that you will dissociate. I've dissociated with all my experiences, and you will have the most blissful experience going home. And so
So if
it's,
I could just interrupt for a second, dissociation in this case is a good thing, everybody. If you're not familiar with it, it means you don't remember any pain. You separate, you're not aware of at the moment. Your awareness separates from the experience in the human body.
yeah, I was in an airplane crash. We got stuck in a wind shear and we were crashing. And I was looking out the window. I kind of heard screaming, but not really.
Huh.
And I was looking down at the ground and I was going, "Oh, it's too bad. I think I'm going to die." Nothing, no emotion, nothing, just looking at the ground and just a neutral thing. I'm going to go talk to Suzanne today. Oh, I'm going to die today. um, so all those near-death
I
experiences.
I have to know, Sandra, did the pilot just get the plane under control and kept it in
Yeah,
the air?
yeah,
Okay.
and he never explained. He
Oh,
never explained. There was luggage everywhere, all over the plane.
mm,
Everybody just got off, and no,
okay.
it was crazy. But when I almost got killed on Mount Shasta by the mountain, which is my power place on earth, and she said the reason was, she told me why. She said, "You keep saying you don't want to be here, so we're trying to help you get out. If
Wow.
you want to be here, stop saying that you want to commit suicide. We're just helping you get out if this is what you want. So you have to make a choice. Make a choice. If you want to die, we really don't care. We really don't. If you want to stay here, stay here, but you have to make a choice." And so that was a big, it was more than just being hit, almost being hit by a 10-ton boulder. It was the message that went along with it of stand up, stop whining, stop saying you don't want to be here anymore, and stand up and get your power back and get your love back for life and live it. Um,
Was
so
that enough of a wake-up call at that moment?
it was, because Mount Shasta was my power place on earth. I had I lived there on and off for a while, and
Beautiful.
I had the most amazing spiritual experiences. I even met Lemurians when I was there. And so I just love Mount Shasta. And so to go above, the thing about Mount Shasta is people travel pilgrimages from all over the world because she's known for her healing. Um, and so when you're under tree line, she's the good mother, the loving mother, the unconditional mother. Let me take you into my arms and just give you whatever love you need. But once you cross that tree line, you've entered into the territory of Shakti, and you have to you have to get your act together when you
Hmm.
cross the tree line. She's the different kind of mother that we all need. The one that tells us to pull up our stocks and stand up. Um,
Wow. Huh. Okay, so you had several, why is the word escaping me right now? Initiations. There we go. But they're ongoing in this eternal journey. And
yeah,
did you feel that you had arrived at a certain place where you've enough initiations, you're here, you've stripped the ego, and then this latest dark night of the soul came upon you, or how did that unfold? We haven't even gotten into what that is yet.
yeah. What happened was, I went through a really stressful period, but I've been teaching around the world for 43 years, traveling. I was on the road for 10 years, 300 days a year.
No kidding.
So, what is stress, what felt like stress to me probably didn't feel the same for other people. I have a really high capacity for being able to stay organized and do things, everything that needs to be done. And so all of a sudden, every neurologist I saw, I ended up with a rare brain disorder. Every neurologist that I saw said it must have been like a perfect storm, a bunch of things coming together at the same time. And so I went through a really rough period, a precious period of taking care of my parents. Uh, my father died at 97, my mother at 98. I
Oh
took care
my.
of them for 4 years. After my mother died, I was teaching in Germany. At midnight, I get an email from my book agent that I have two book contracts simultaneously that came in on the same day. So my father died, my mother died. I went to Europe to teach. I came back and wrote 2 books at the same time. And then all of a sudden, I'm asked to teach on the Shift Network, and I got a very, very large group, a group that nobody was expecting at the Shift, and I wasn't expecting. And I never taught online before, and I put my all into it. And with all those students, spending 13 hours a day on Facebook answering questions. And so I went from one event to another, and I wasn't paying attention to the stress because I just have always been able to handle stress really well. But I guess I reached an age where my body said, we've been doing this for a long time and we're not with you anymore. So what happened was I realized that in really tough times, we used to have elders who used to tell us how we walk through times of darkness. Like we're being challenged right now on all of us in our lives and what we're dealing with on the planet. And we used to have elders that told us, what do you do when things like what's happening in the world, what's happening in your life, how do you get through? And so I felt that I was never given that roadmap. I was never given that roadmap. And when this event happened in my life, and we're not sure, now it's looking like I got hit by lightning again that night through my phone line. That's what the Quiero people in the Andes believe. And they didn't even know that I was hit by lightning as a child. And they said, you were hit by lightning twice, once as a child and once the night of this event. And
Wow.
I felt like I was hit by lightning. I was thrown against the wall. That's how strong the force was when I put down the phone. I was teaching before Zoom, so it was teleconferencing. So, so anyway, this really kind of shook me to my core, and I felt like I was in a plane and somebody opened the door and pushed me out at 30,000 feet at midnight with no map, no tools, no anything. And so I used everything that I taught over my years to develop my roadmap. And so then I taught a course for the Shift Network on this material. And then the day after my course ended, Lynn Roberts, who I co-wrote the book with, we co-wrote another book, Speaking with Nature. She said, how would you like to write a book on darkness? And I said, well, I was planning on doing that. I just finished teaching a course, so that was my next step. So we ended up joining together again to share as 2 women elders what happens to you when you do suffer loss. It could be a physical challenge, it could be losing a job, it could be climate change, it could be stepping into a new path in your life or wanting to make a change in your life. We wanted to come together and offer, as 2 elder women, we're both in our 70s, we wanted to offer our roadmap for people. And just like you said, I don't want to get too dark on the show. We didn't want to get dark either.
Yeah.
So everything has a positive spin on this, especially because initiations, even if they're hard, they're to bring you to the most beautiful time of your life.
Mhm. And you do that in this book through what you call circular storytelling. Would
Yeah.
you talk about that?
Yeah, if anybody ever reads anything that Lynn and I write, nothing is organized in a regular fashion that you'd be used to reading in a book. So we, in circular teaching, and this is a real indigenous way of telling stories. You're not linear, you're not starting from a point, you're telling a story, and a piece of a story goes into another story, and then another piece of a story goes into another story. And sometimes you're wondering, oh my God, where is this leading you to? Because nothing is linear. We're not doing it in a linear way. And so that takes you into a deeper place, into your imagination, because your mind can't grasp. There's nothing linear. It's all metaphor. It's all stories that are um, trying to ignite your own inner fire, your own spirit.
And is that the goal of the book then?
Oh, absolutely. So the goal of the book is you're in a dark place. Do not sit down in the dark. That's my biggest message that I'll ever give people going through a hard time. My very second shamanic journey I ever had in 1980, my main helping spirit said to me, whatever happens in your life, do not sit down in the dark. So for me, all my writing is trying to keep people moving forward. Okay, if you can't move forward, things are just too hard. Can you just go outside and put your arms up to the sun and say, I'm having a hard time today. I receive your love. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. For me, if I'm really having a hard time, I just light one piece of incense and that puts me back into a good place again. So, what I'm trying to teach people is that no matter what's going on in your life or no matter what's going on in the world, you don't get paralyzed, you don't stop, you look at
And
what,
that's the sitting down in the dark. It's metaphorical.
right.
It doesn't
So,
mean don't go meditate and don't turn the lights out. That's not what
right,
you're
no,
saying.
you should actually do
Yeah.
that. Everybody should be doing that right now, actually. And so my thing is, I'm always trying to give people the littlest steps to take because we get so overwhelmed. People give us these gigantic maps, and we go, oh my God, I just don't know I don't even know where to start. I can't tell you how many programs I signed up for to help me deal with some of what I'm dealing with, but I never knew where to start. They're just so complex, they're
Mm.
just so big. I never did anything. So I try to teach people how to feel more empowered by not taking on too much, but just taking really simple steps. And all of a sudden, you find yourself not feeling like you're in darkness. You feel like there's all of a sudden all this awe and wonder about the path that you're walking on now. And all of a sudden, you start seeing how nature's coming in and giving you all these messages to help you keep moving forward. And all of a sudden, you step back into the magic of life and you realize the purpose of what the challenge was about. It wasn't just to challenge you to bring you to a terrible place in life. That's not what initiations are about. It's about the challenge that challenges your spirit to stand up and say, enough is enough. I know how to do this. I have everything inside of me. I know how to do this. I am a being of light. Everything I'm experiencing is illusion and separation, and it has nothing to do with what this world is about.
Wow. I told you all you'd get wisdom today. every time you open your mouth, Sandra, it's filled with wisdom, but clearly born of challenges. Yeah. This book tells a series of stories about animals. And would you just mention a little bit about that? Because glancing through the index, there are two animals that have proved very powerful for me as guides and sending me signs. And let me tell you, back when I had just retired from the Navy, I would have scoffed at spirit animals, but there's a lot to this. So would you just talk about that for a few?
Yeah, so I don't, as a shamanic teacher, one of the things I'm known for is I tell people when you get a spirit animal, don't go look it up in a book because the spirit animal actually came to you for a unique gift and blessing that it's giving you, but it's not giving it to anybody else. So if you read about it in somebody else's book, you miss the blessing, you miss the teaching. But what Lynn and I did was we used nature, we call them nature beings. Everything that's alive is a nature being, including us. And we use nature beings that are really important to us. And so we picked, so like from my chapter 1, I picked coyote on purpose. I love coyotes. I'm not trying to give them a bad rap. I live in the country, so I have to deal with coyotes a lot. And and I was trying to bring up how they oftentimes trick their prey. And I find that the biggest challenge that I see happening right now is that we're giving our authority away to other people who are telling us this is how you should live your life, this is what you should take to feel better, this is real news, this is fake news. I mean, we don't know anything anymore, but our intuition knows everything. Our intuition knows everything. And I think the biggest mistake that we're all making right now is giving our power away and not trusting our own intuition and not trusting our own bodies. And so I wrote about coyote because coyote will trick their prey. And oftentimes, the people who come out of the shadows offering help to us, they're not bad people, they're good people, but they're manipulating us in some way because they need something. But what we really need is we need our voice, we need our power, we need our intuition. And so that's really important. Um, I chose octopus because we were talking about this is a great time to meditate and go into the silence. And so I was using octopus as a deep sea creature. As you keep going down the depths of your inner landscape, your inner sea, we're all water as you, we're 70% water as you keep going down the depths, the depths, the depths, what all you find is beauty, what all you find is self-love, what all you find is self-worth, what all you find is light. So we get afraid of these dark times, but these dark times are blessings for us.
Beautiful, beautiful. It's if that doesn't make everybody eager to find out what the rest of these chapters have to teach us, I don't know what will. I'm definitely inspired. Oh, I just opened a black jaguar. You should see across the room. I have a 3D black jaguar over there, a little statue of one from the journeys that I made with a black jaguar who totally surprised me when I didn't believe in spirit animals. And it's been a wonderful journey once we start trusting and being open to what I call playing. You know,
Right.
just be open.
I'll tell you my one miracle story that I did write about in the book. Black Jaguar was a chapter that Lynn wrote, and I love jaguars, and I bring them back a lot for people. They're an animal that really wants to help people get empowered more. So I have one of the chapters is on a pinyon pine tree. Um, and where I live in New Mexico, and where I live is all juniper and pine trees. And so there's this one pinyon pine tree right outside of my living room. And I've been living at my house for 27 years. And so every day I went out and did a ceremony at the pine tree, just offering to be in service to the spirits, to earth, air, water, fire. I did this every day to my helping spirits, thanking my ancestors, thanking the ancestors of my land. So this was an everyday event. The day I got my brain disorder, the tree fell in the same direction that my head fell. Same day. So we brought out all these tree guys to ask what happened to the tree, and they said, we don't know. There was no reason for this tree to fall. So uh, fast forward a few years, I bought a little piece of jewelry, and with the jewelry, the salesperson, the staff sent me a tiny ruby and said, put this in a place in nature that's really special. So, of course, I went to put it at the tree. When I went out the next day, I went out of curiosity because we have a lot of ravens, and I was hoping the ravens would take the ruby as a gift. And what had replaced the ruby was a perfect, was about 2 inches. I have a photo of it, a heart, a lichen, an exact, a perfect heart lichen was right where that ruby was. So
Wow.
the tree left that for me. And when I worked with the Quiero from the Andes and I told them about the tree, they said that the tree and I were one soul now,
Huh.
which
Oh,
I'm still trying to understand that.
but it's just, it has some, for me, there's a knowing that there's truth in there, even if my left brain and my American upbringing can't understand it. There's something in there that the soul just says, "Ooh, embrace that."
Yeah, because we're so species lonely,
Hmm.
and to get a message that nature is supporting you and loving you through everything that you're going through, all of a sudden we realize that there's more than just us. And that's why people are spending so much time in nature now. They're so species lonely. If you listen to the pets that people are buying now just because they want animal connections, but they should be, instead of getting bunnies and snakes as pets, they should be going outside and playing with bunnies and snakes. And when we do that, it takes us through the darkness. It brings us back into a place of awe and wonder, and it takes us back into the magic of life. And when we come back to the magic of life, we realize we're not alone, that this is all happening for our well being, and that we're going to be led to a beautiful place.
Well, Sandra, that's you're mentioning bunnies is my third bunny snag in 3 days, so I'm going to have to look up rabbits. As a, but no, wait, you said don't look it up. I'll go into meditation and ask my guides, what's up with the rabbits? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, this has been delightful. How do people find out more about you? Where do they get your book?
Well, you can get the book from any of your favorite places where you buy books. I do have a website, sandraingerman.com, that's filled with so many free articles, resources on how to heal toxic thoughts, how to change your life, spiritual practices to transform what's going on. lot about roadmap. And if you want to buy my book through my website, just go to the book section and you can do it through there.
Excellent. Well, let's just give you a chance to share any last nugget of wisdom, any insight that you want to leave people with.
Yeah, so we're all going through quite the time right now, and some people are actually moving into a beautiful place of evolution by really stepping out of the drama and working more with spiritual practices and going out into nature and letting nature guide you and hold you. So I just want to let people know that what's going on right now is really to help us wake up so that we can actually live the life that we came here to live. We were these little spirits that were looking down at planet Earth and saying, what a beautiful place. I want to come here to do this. But the collective and authority figures kept telling you, no, don't dream too big and just follow the rules and everything will be okay. And what I want to say to you is let these initiations happen. Let them burn off all those authority figures, how they've been trying to get you to not love yourself, not feel good enough about yourself, so that you are willing to express the uniqueness that you came into this world to express. This is what this time is about, and any challenge that's coming your way is trying to help you step into your brightest state, to your power, and what your soul was so passionate about manifesting and experiencing in this life. So this is what everything is trying to bring you to. So don't be afraid, embrace life fully. Life is here for you right now. So blessings, everyone.
Thank you so much. I have always found it true that the energy of an author is felt when we read a book. I certainly feel that as I read the pages of any of your books. I have quite a few of them in my home. But I just thank you for allowing us to feel your energy here in person today. It's truly a gift to all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. I hope you're just feeling the love that surrounds you. Go out and share that with somebody else. Why don't you? We'll see you back here next week.